Good evening. Good evening. How's everybody doing? Hello, hello. I'm just letting everybody in right now, adding everybody in. Thank you for joining our nutrition webinar this evening. So I know it's 7 p.m. for y'all. It's only 4 p.m. over here on this side of the world, but thank you guys for joining. So this is our very first nutrition webinar. And in light of us going back to school and folks getting back to their routines and things like that, we wanted to make sure that we give you guys the tools to absolutely succeed when it comes to your nutrition. So, first things first is I want to go over the 5 pillars to a lifestyle change and help you guys understand what it really looks like to observe the standards compared to the outcome. So, there should be a little chat box in here. Go ahead and drop your name and also your fitness goal in the chat box, and that'll kind of give me an idea of like where most of our attendees are coming from and what areas we really want to hear most about when it comes to your personal fitness goals. So grab that chat box, put in your name and fitness goals. Just one goal. Put in your name and your fitness goal. And that'll kind of give me an idea of where we're starting from here. So I'll give you guys a few seconds to drop that in. Also gives some more people time to join in on the call. I see more and more people are joining in. If you're just now joining in, just go ahead and jump into the chat box, put your name in, and then put in your fitness goal. So it could be gaining strength, gaining muscle. It could be maintaining your weight, but increasing strength and losing fat. Or it could be a weight loss goal. It could be 20, 30, 50 pounds. And maybe it's understanding, how to calculate food or how to calculate the right amount of exercise programming. So just drop that in. I'll let that be our icebreaker for today before I just dive in here and start telling y'all what to do with your lives. So give yourself a little bit of time there. So hope everybody had a really good first. I believe a lot of the counties sent a lot of the kids back to school today. So I know that had a lot of people running around, but that's that's what we're doing now. Now it's time to take the adults back to school. So I'm really excited about this. Let's see. All right, who do we got in here? All right, all right. Okay, let's jump in. Let's jump right into it. If anyone has any trouble, by the way, joining in or chatting, just send me a DM. You can use the Q&A. I see someone said increasing conditioning, lean muscle. Someone else said their chat is not open. Oh, okay. Looks like the chat is not letting y'all in. I'm over here telling you guys to drop a chat in. Uh, okay. Maybe chat's not enabled for everybody on here. If I don't get to see your Q&A, you can definitely reach out to us in our DMs and I'll absolutely answer your question that you may have. Okay, so first things first, we want to go through our standard. So when it comes to your nutrition and fitness, I want to just give you guys the standards to observe before you judge your outcome. So if you are observing these standards, then we can look at, where you are in your progress and in your journey, and then we can decide, okay, is it time to make some changes or not? So first standard to observe is going to be, and I recommend everybody have something to write down, whether you're taking notes on your phone or you're writing things down with a paper and pen. First standard to observe is going to be 3 to 5 days a week of strength training, right? So earlier we mentioned if you're already in the gym, if you're working really hard, but you're not seeing the results you're looking for, objectively already in the gym and already consistent, an objective number to write down is 3 to 5 days a week of strength training. So I want to make sure I throw that part out at the very beginning. So if you are not maintaining a minimum of 3 days a week of strength training, then it definitely is a combination of your diet, but you absolutely want to increase the frequency of your gym visits. Now, for those of you who are in the gym 3 to 5 days a week, and I say 3 to 5 because there's some people who think they need 6 or 7 days a week. I'm just letting you know that that is the sweet spot to really make a difference and really see what's happening and how your body's responding to exercise protocols and diet protocols. So, strength training specifically, not the same thing as running really hard on the treadmill or going as hard as you can on the elliptical. Specifically, strength training. That is the very first standard that you want to be observing on a regular basis. The second standard you want to observe on a regular basis is going to be your cardio, right? Now, how much cardio is going to make sense for you? It's going to look like 10,000 steps a day or 30 minutes of uninterrupted cardio 5 days a week. So that is going to be the standards to observe when it comes to the physical activity, right? To decide like, am I moving enough? A lot of people want to know, am I moving enough? Am I training enough? Before we talk about the type of exercises you should be doing, if you're getting 3 to 5 days of strength training a week, studies are going to show that you are putting yourself in position to see progression. And then when it comes to non-exercise activity, that's where we want to throw in 30 minutes of cardio 5 days a week, or you're naturally getting 10,000 steps a day because you're just a busy person. You're walking a lot, you're getting lots of steps. So that part is an or. If you already hit 10,000 steps a day on a regular basis, then you don't need to schedule that extra 30 minutes 5 times a week of cardio. So those are the two options for non-exercise activity. So exercise activity, strength training. Non-exercise activity, 10,000 steps a day, or 30 minutes, 5 days a week of cardio. When you're thinking, what should that cardio feel like? Again, you guys don't have to be sweating or dripping in sweat. You could break a light sweat, but you should be able to hold a conversation while you're doing this 30 minutes of cardio. And if you're checking on your watch, maybe you wear a Fitbit or maybe you hold on to the machine and you want to know what heart rate threshold you should be at. Most of these watches are advanced where they'll tell you that you're in zone 1, 2, or 3, but you could do a simple equation for yourself and you would just do 220 minus your age, and then you take that number and you multiply that by 0.7, and that'll be 70% of your heart rate maximum, and that will put you in the sweet spot of zone 2 cardio. So you want to be right at the point where you're just enough to have a conversation and keep moving. That's what your 30 minutes of cardio would look like 5 days a week. All right, now when it comes to your diet and your nutrition, this is a huge pillar here, right? This is why we're all here. We're like, what's going on with the diet? What's going on with nutrition? Nutrition, you want to make sure you have an actual caloric goal to hit. So this is something that can easily be obtained by using something like a food diary like MyFitnessPal. I don't know if anybody's used MyFitnessPal before, but it looks like this little icon right here, this deep blue icon, and it'll say MyFitnessPal. You're just going to go in, you're going to put in your age, your weight, and your height, and it's going to calculate about how many calories it takes to sustain your daily energy levels. And then it's even going to recommend the amount of calories that it would take for you to lose weight, gain weight, or stay the same. Why am I giving you all this information for you to go and be successful on your own? Is because when it comes to weight management, it's been figured out a long time ago. There's no new information under the sun when it comes to weight management. It's calories in and it's calories out. It's energy consumption and energy expenditure, right? So if you are using more energy than you're consuming, you are going to be in a calorie deficit. You will lose weight. That's just according to the laws of thermodynamics. So it doesn't matter if you're doing keto. It doesn't matter if you're doing carnivore. It doesn't matter if you're fasting for 18 hours or 24 hours. No matter which dietary diet practice you take, at the end of the day, if you are below a certain threshold of total calories consumed, you will absolutely lose weight no matter which diet you choose. It could be vegetarian, carnivore, pescatarian, doesn't matter. It comes down to the number, and this is just math and science. So that's what I mean by diet is the laws of thermodynamics. So if you believe that you've been doing all the right things, you eat very healthy, you don't eat too much, but for some reason your weight is not moving or you're gaining weight, you are eating too much. That is just the simple answer for you. If you've done everything, if like as far as you're eating salads and you're finding all the healthy foods and you're subscribing to all the healthy practices and you're still not losing weight and you're still not achieving the weight goal that you want, the one thing that is absolutely missing is your ability to calculate and track the amount of calories that you're consuming. So at the end of the day, if you track the amount of calories you consume and you utilize this MyFitnessPal diary, you will clear out all confusion that's possible. So real quick, I just said a lot, and let me dive into some of the things you guys have thrown into the chat so far. So someone else said they want to lose fat and gain muscle. Someone else said they want to gain more lean muscle and get stronger, increase conditioning, increase lean muscle. Absolutely. Yeah, we're definitely going to touch on these points. So the first two standards to observe, I just went over them. I went over strength training. If you're just joining in, I see we have more and more people jumping in every minute. Strength training 3 to 5 days a week, 10,000 steps a day or 30 minutes of cardio. Then this third one is staying within 100 calories over or under your calorie budget. Everyone needs to have a calorie budget who's trying to manage their weight. If you are at the weight that you want to be at and you don't need to gain weight, you don't need to lose weight, then you don't need to be so tight on monitoring your calorie budget. But if you're at the weight you want to be at, but you want to gain more lean muscle and you want to lean out a bit, but you're not necessarily trying to lose weight or gain weight, you want to focus on macronutrients, specifically proteins, carbs, and fats. So it's important to understand which approach is going to be best for you. So if you're already at your goal weight, give or take 5 pounds up or down, start focusing on the amount of protein you're hitting every single day and track your protein. Be mindful of the amount of fats you're having and keep an eye on the amount of carbs you're having. If you are not at your goal weight and you're still in weight management, this is where you absolutely want to keep track of the number of calories you're consuming on a daily basis. Use the MyFitnessPal application, put in your age, height, and weight, and it's just going to generate a recommended amount of calories that will absolutely get you to lose weight. It's not about how fast you lose the weight or how quickly you can see it. It's trying to create a sustainable process for you. So it's super important that you don't take the most aggressive approaches early on because you can run into an issue where you use all the tools in your tool belt and you back yourself into a corner. That's just doing too much too fast. And I'll talk about that as well. The next standard that we want to observe is now that you know how many calories a day that you should be hitting or aiming for, or you know how many grams of protein that you should be aiming for, now it's time to divide that up in the amount of meals that you are eating on a daily basis. Studies show that 3 to 5 meals a day are a healthy, sustainable practice. So even if you just do breakfast, lunch, and dinner, that's going to keep you in a healthy, sustainable practice for your metabolism. So let's say you just did your caloric calculations on the MyFitnessPal app, you put in your age, height, and weight, and now it's spit back out 2,000 calories to you, right? And you're someone who's going to say, okay, I'm going to eat 4 meals a day, right? You would just do the simple math. You would take 2,000 calories, you divide that by four, and you would be at 500 calories per meal. Does that make sense? So just do the simple math. Find out the amount of calories that are recommended based on your age, height, and weight. And you can use that MyFitnessPal to do so for you individually. And then divide it by the number of meals that you plan on having. So if you're someone who is at 2,000 calories a day, right, you divide that by, say, 3 meals. Now the amount of calories per meal is going up. You're at 666 calories per meal. So keep in mind, be mindful of the portion sizes and the size of the meals that you logistically can sit down and eat. If you're a busy person and you know you only get 5 minutes to sit and quickly snack, you're probably not going to position yourself to have 600, 700 calorie meals 3 to 4 times a day. You're going to want to spread that out maybe 4 to 5 meals, right? So that they're smaller in caloric values, they're easier to consume and quicker to digest. So it's about being logistic here when it comes to planning your diet ahead of time. If anyone has trouble finding out the amount of calories that are best recommended for them based on their age, height, weight, and their goals, please reach out to any one of us after the call. You can reach out to Claude, you can reach out to Coach Amari, Coach Aston. You can reach out to any of our staff at the front desk as well and just let them know, hey, I wanted to know which amount of calories are going to be best for me and my goals. And we'll show you how to pull it up on your Circle the Sun fitness app, and we'll go ahead and we'll set that up for you. So now you've decided, okay, how many days a week you're going to be strength training, whether you're going to do 10,000 steps a day or 30 minutes of cardio. And now you know how many meals you're going to have each day. And then you even know how many calories you're going to have per meal. So you're already 40% ahead of the pack just by going ahead and planning the amount of meals you'll have, the amount of calories you'll have per meal. Now, let's say you're out and about, right? Nowadays, most of these menus have the number of calories per menu item, per meal, per entree. And you can look at that. Let's say you're at Outback with your family or you're at Longhorn Steakhouse. They've got the calories on those menus. So you can say, you know what? Based on my meal plan, I'm at 400 calories per meal. I know I can't do the bloomin' onion tonight. I know I can't do the baked potato with the bacon and the sour cream and the cheese on it, right? You're going to start to think a little differently on the food selections. It doesn't mean that you have to completely eliminate those foods, but put it this way. Let's say you cut it in half, right? So it doesn't mean that you're giving up the foods that you love. It means that now you have a real understanding of portion control on a quantitative level, on an objective amount, right? So if that baked potato with everything on it is 600 calories, ask your spouse to go half on it with you, and now you're down to 300 calories, right? Or maybe you can only afford a quarter of it, right? But when you start to play the numeric game, it gets a lot easier to see it as a metabolic bank account or a budget that you're trying to keep up with, less of a food restriction diet saying, you know, I'm going to not eat carbs for 30 days, or I'm going to eliminate all bread, I'm going to eliminate all rice. We never want to promote these type of diets that are highly restrictive where you're eliminating an entire food group. We just want to give you the real tools that allow you to create a lifestyle, right? Right. We're talking about feeling better, living longer, eating healthier, right? So if I were to tell you, hey guys, just eat no sugar. You want to lose weight? Stop eating sugar, stop eating bread, stop eating rice. I'll see you in a few weeks. If you did that, sure, you would see that you've lost a good amount of weight, but sustainability wise, how long could you last without ever eating sugar, bread, or rice, right? If I want to set you up for success, I'd be doing you a huge disservice if I just said eliminate all the sugar in your life, eliminate all the bread, eliminate all the rice. So it's important that we understand here are the tools that the professionals are using to coach their clients, right? High level athletes, high level professionals are using these very same tools to understand how someone's body should respond to diet and training protocols and give them an objective number to chase after. And then you fit it in around your lifestyle. The next standard that I want everybody to observe is how much sleep are you getting? Because if you're not getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep, you're going to spike your cortisol levels. You're going to spike your hunger hormones as well, whether you believe it or not, or understand it or not. If you're not sleeping enough and you're not recovering, you're not getting enough energy from sleep, this inclines us to have larger appetites. Not only does it incline us to have larger appetites, it also inclines us to have an appetite for calorically dense foods. Calorically dense foods are processed and trans fats and added sugars, right? You're not going to crave a salad when you're sleeping 4 to 5 hours a night. I'm sorry. You're not going to be interested in kiwis and avocados and tomatoes and real fruits and vegetables when you're sleeping 4 to 5 hours a night, right? So we absolutely don't want to skip past how nutrition plays into our recovery and how our recovery plays into our diet decisions, right? This is just decision making, right? So 7 to 9 hours a night is the recommended amount, not only to recover your body physiologically, but also to recover your mind psychologically and feel well rested. We make a lot better decisions when we are well rested. Next is alcohol, right? We call it the forbidden macronutrient. Whether you're having it or not, we just recommend that you have less or none at all. I've never met anybody who got sober, healthy, and fit and didn't end up having a better experience in their personal and their professional lives. So when it comes to alcohol, I'll tell you how it affects you physiologically in your metabolism. When your body consumes alcohol, it's going to disposition its processing power of metabolizing carbs, fats, proteins. It's going to put that on hold real quick until it fully excretes the ethanol that's coming off of the alcohol that you consume. I don't want this to be a fear monger or me telling anybody, hey, don't drink alcohol ever again in your life. But I do want you to understand the education behind how your body actually processes alcohol. It processes alcohol as poison. That's what it sees it as. So it's going to stop burning fats, stop burning carbs, and stop burning proteins until it fully excretes out all of that ethanol that's coming from the alcohol. And then once that's done, then your metabolism goes back to processing the carbs, fats, and proteins that you've eaten. So if you're someone who's drinking every weekend to the point where we can smell it the morning after, just understand that you are putting yourself at a huge disposition when it comes to your progress and your journey, whether it be weight loss, whether it be losing fat, building muscle, secreting the balance of your hormones. Just understand that having more alcohol is only pushing you further away. And I'm not saying that everybody's got to pledge sobriety this evening, but I am saying that having less of it to none at all does make a huge difference. The last standard I'd want everyone to observe is updating blood work twice a year. So if you're updating blood work twice a year, then you can assure that you understand where your body is, where your personal baseline health metrics are, and your health markers. And it also gives you a different perspective on your health and your fitness. Health and fitness right now in 2026, a lot of times people are easily swept up by the marketing material. There's a lot of marketing towards supplements. There's a lot of marketing towards weight loss drugs. There's a lot of marketing towards these superfoods and these different products that claim to be the magic pill. Let's just call it what it is. If you are someone who's getting your blood work updated at least twice a year, you are a lot less likely to make a desperate decision based on puffery, right? This is a marketing term like Red Bull gives you wings, right? Red Bull doesn't give anybody wings. They actually got sued for millions of dollars for claiming to give you wings, right? But at the end of the day, Red Bull gives you wings is just a puffery marketing statement. So when you see all these different products that are highly sought out after right now in the fitness industry. We're looking at peptides, we're looking at GLP-1s, we're looking at testosterone boosters, estrogen boosters. You're looking at all these different things that you can just inject into yourself or take orally, and it's supposed to just completely bypass all the standards we talked about earlier, right? It's supposed to, hey, if you're not in the gym 3 to 5 days a week, strength training, that's okay. If you're not moving non-exercise activity, getting your steps in, if you don't have structure around your meals, if you're sleeping 4 to 5 hours a night and you don't have a control over your alcohol, take these weight loss drugs, take these hormone optimization drugs, and they're going to be the answer, right? So that doesn't make sense, right? So that's not how it's being marketed. So it's important that you guys just see between the lines And it's a lot easier to see between the lines when you're getting your blood work done twice a year. You're looking at your blood sugar levels, your A1C. You can see where your enzymes are. You can see where your blood pressure is. You can also have a good idea of, is your body actually processing carbs properly, fats and proteins, just getting a good idea of where your personal baselines are. Then when the next supplement or the next hot magic pill hits the market, you're not going to make a desperate decision, or you're not going to feel like you need that to build muscle or to lose fat. You're just going to actually understand what levels you have that are optimal and what levels you probably do need. And you'll find, you know what? Maybe I need a multivitamin. Maybe I'm low in vitamin D. Maybe I'm low in B12. Maybe my iron levels are low, right? You're going to find that if you're actually keeping up with your blood work, the actual supplements you need to take turn out to be a lot more simple, over the counter, and they're not going to cost you thousands and thousands of dollars. That being said, I want to let you guys know that we have nothing against these weight loss drugs, and we have nothing against these actual like life-saving interventions. They're put here to make a net positive in people's lives. What I do want to ear you against is just stepping ahead of schedule, prioritizing them above the actual pillars that create a lifestyle change. So the pillars that create a lifestyle change, let me just review them really quickly. The pillars that create a lifestyle change, number one is your mindset. If you're the type of person that is willing to just take action and control what you can control and do what's required to progress, regardless of the circumstances, then you're going to beat 70% of the humans, right? If the nutrition category in your life looks more like controlled calories, high protein, high fiber, micronutrients, and then you're able to spend the rest of your calorie budget on your favorite carbs, fats, right? You're minimizing alcohol. Again, you're putting yourself way ahead of the pack, and you're going to see a lot better results than you're seeing right now. So, nutrition, it's simple. It's what you eat and drink or what you don't eat and drink. If you are at a high protein diet, you're getting your fiber intake in, and that's your main priority. You're controlling your calories, and you find, okay, you know what? In my budget, I've got an extra 300 calories. Do you want to spend that on half of a baked potato with all your favorite toppings on it? Or do you want to spend it on dessert? Probably not going to be both. You're going to have to pick one or the other most of the time if you're adhering to a budget. It's the same thing you guys do in your professional lives, your personal lives. It's the same reason why you've gotten as far as you've gotten in life, because you've adhered to a budget at some point in time, to a deadline, to a standard, to performance indicators and metrics that keep you moving forward. So the pillars to a lifestyle change, there's five pillars, and you want to put them in order. The number one pillar is your mindset. The second largest pillar is your nutrition. The third largest pillar is the physicals, right? That's when we throw in the strength training, the cardio, the sleep, the recovery tools, the sauna, the ice baths, and all those different tools come in, right? The fourth pillar are over-the-counter supplements. Really quickly, supplements are what you're not getting from food alone. So supplements are made to be supplementary, right? So let's say 80% of your macro and micronutrients, your vitamins and minerals are coming from whole foods. 20% of what you're missing from your regular diet, your 3 to 5 meals a day, 20% of that can come from the supplements, right? So, what does that look like? Let's just talk about the simple, basic supplements. If someone is a vegan or vegetarian, they're most likely not getting branched chain amino acids or essential amino acids. They're not getting a lot of protein and a lot of creatine from their natural diet. It doesn't mean that they don't have access to it. It means that they have to eat a lot more food to get those amino acids, proteins, and creatine. So for someone who's a vegetarian or vegan, a creatine supplement makes absolute sense. A BCA or an EAA supplement makes absolute sense. A protein powder or a pre-made protein shake absolutely makes sense for that individual as their supplement go-to stack, because naturally they're probably not getting a lot of it in their diet alone. I just wanted to share that as an example of how to properly utilize supplements. Okay, the fifth pillar to a lifestyle change, this is where medical intervention does come in. So if you're observing the standards we talked about earlier, like getting your blood work done twice a year at minimum, and some of us need to get it done every quarter, every 3 months, right? If you're getting your regular monitoring blood works, you're keeping up with your health optimization, now you can see, okay, what do I need? At this point, this is where you can have that conversation with your doctor or your provider, and they can say, all right, you're training frequently, consistently enough. You're in the gym 3 to 5 days a week. You've been keeping that up for the past 3 months. You're getting enough steps in. You're controlling your diet. You're sleeping enough. You've got your multivitamins. You're hitting all of those main pillars. Now let's talk about getting on some insulin or getting on some hormone optimization, hormone replacement therapy. Those things can absolutely make a net positive in your life. They can really be life changing, and they're going to be a lot more effective when you're taking care of those main pillars. And then when your doctor says, hey, let's get you on a GLP-1, let's get you on hormone replacement therapy, or you might be in need of a lifestyle or you might be in need of a medical intervention. This could be a weight loss surgery or a weight loss drug. These things are going to make so much more sense, and your body's going to respond to it a lot better. You put yourself at a lot lower risk for the side effects, and you put yourself in a higher position for all the gain and success and positive outcomes that can come from utilizing these medical interventions. So I purposely place these in order from the biggest pillars to the smaller pillars based on what contributes most to your success. Now, when we talk about planning fat loss, this is where most of our demographic is. I would say 70% of our demographic is absolutely focused on fat loss. So, what would I do if I were you and I was focused on fat loss right now? The first thing that I would do is I would take my current weight and I would minus that by my goal weight. So let's say I'm at 220 pounds and I want to come down to 190 pounds. I'm going to take my current weight of 220 pounds. I'm going to minus that by my goal weight of 190 pounds, and I'm going to be left with 30 pounds, right? So now I know that my goal weight loss is 30 pounds. This is what's realistic, right? So another thing to do, the very next thing to do is understand what the 1% rule is. Studies show that healthy, sustainable weight loss journeys happen when we lose 1% of our body weight a week. So if you are losing 1% and you're at least targeting 1% of your body weight loss per week, now you can set a target date. I like to tell folks to start with 12 weeks. If you're not willing to commit to something for 12 weeks or 3 months, then you're trying to probably do something that's a quick fix or you're taking shortcuts, right? So let's be honest, we're not going to try to fix a 10-year problem with a 3 month solution, but we can make some huge changes in 3 months of commitment. So get your goal weight, right? Get your current weight, minus that by your goal weight, see how much weight you actually have to lose, and then divide this number by 12 weeks, right? Put yourself in a minimum of 12-week goal, 3 months. So if I take the 30 pounds that I want to lose and I divide that by 12 weeks, this puts me at 2.5 pounds a week, right? So now I can say, okay, if I was trying to lose 2.5 pounds a week, that would be more than 1% of my body weight. I probably should give myself a little bit more time. Remember, I'm 220 pounds. 1% of my body weight is 2.2 pounds, right? So this is how you can understand, do I have a realistic goal weight? Also, do I have a realistic target date? So take your current weight, see what 1% of your current weight is, right? And then take the amount of weight that you want to lose, put yourself in a 12-week plan and see how much weight can you lose at that. So what I should really do is I should take 2.2 multiply that by 12, and realistically, I can lose 26.4 pounds on a healthy and sustainable process, right? So even though I said I wanted to lose 30 pounds, now I know that if I'm trying to lose more than this, I put myself at the risk of losing muscle and bone density. Guys, all weight loss is not good weight loss. You've seen it today more than anything. Today in 2026, we see people losing weight just like that, and the weight loss does not look like how we imagined it to look, right? So most of the time when someone loses weight too fast and too rapidly, they're not even giving their skin and the collagen and the elasticity time to reproduce so that it can tighten up and get toned enough. And that's how people get saggy skin. That's how people get loose skin. And also, it's how people end up skinny fat after losing 30 to 50 pounds, still feeling skinny fat, right? Still not looking toned, still not having the shape they want to have, and definitely not having the energy that they want to have because they starved themselves and they took too aggressive of an approach instead of just saying, you know what, I'm going to just aim to lose 1% of my body weight a week, and then I'm going to readjust that calculation after 12 weeks. So that is how you would plan fat loss. That being said, you actually want to eat as much food as possible while losing 1% of your body weight weekly. So that's the goal. The goal is not to drop your food significantly and completely cut out all these food groups. The goal is to lose 1% of your body weight a week while eating as much food as possible. So that's why we ask you to track your calories in a food diary, because the goal is not to make people eat less, 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 and less. Because at the end of the day, you're not going to be happy and you're just going to relapse and bounce back the moment you get off of this diet. Remember, we want to create a sustainable process. If you are building muscle in the process of this 12-week weight loss journey, the amount of calories that it takes for you to build muscle and lose fat should absolutely be increasing. You shouldn't end this diet at 900 calories. You should end this diet at 1500, 1700, 2000 calories. And of course, it depends on, your age, height, weight, your size, and things like that. We're just talking about the average size individual. So you should be able to eat more food while still seeing progress. And it's like, how am I going to eat more food? You're going to strength train, right? Because when you strength train 3 to 5 days a week, you are exhausting the muscle groups and you're squeezing out the tissue that holds the most amount of calories in your body. Most of the glycogen in your body is held in the muscle tissue, right? So if you're dealing with hypertension, high blood pressure, if you're dealing with high blood sugar, right? Type 2 diabetes, the number one tool in your tool belt is strength training. When you strength train, you're going to excrete that storage of sugar, also known as glycogen, and it's going to be excreted out, right? It's going to be utilized as energy. It's going to be pushed out so that the sugar that was once in your bloodstream that was making your insulin work so hard to shuttle can now actually be shuttled by the insulin back into the muscle tissue to replenish the storages that you just utilized in your strength training routine. So think of it like this. If you're only doing cardio, right? And you're wondering why it's so frustrating for you to lose weight, get to your goals, and have energy. If you're not strength training, then your insulin is working really, really hard to take that sugar out of your bloodstream. And the sugar is just the form of everything that gets broken down at the end of the day gets broken down to a sugar molecule. So it doesn't mean you're eating straight sugar. Whatever you eat gets broken down into sugar. It gets to your bloodstream. It's your insulin's responsibility to take that glucose and shuttle it to the muscle. If someone does not strength train, your insulin's going to shuttle that glucose to a muscle that's already full in storage, right? That muscle storage is already going to be full. So then that insulin has to work hard and shuttle that glucose back to the bloodstream or try to fit it into the fat reserves. So by not strength training a minimum of 3 times a week, you make this process way harder than it needs to be when it comes to losing 1% of your body weight a week and strategically planning for fat loss, right? We're not just trying to lose weight, we're really trying to lose body fat, visceral fat, right? Make our organs work better, lose that adipose tissue so that our skin can be tighter and our clothes can fit better. Guys, if you do this correctly, you're going to build a relationship between progressive overload, strength training in the gym, and getting stronger. You're going to build a relationship between that strength training and calories that you actually eat effectively, right? So if you're in a calorie deficit, you start with the least effective dosage. Don't put yourself in a 1,000 calorie deficit and start with this super aggressive approach, right? Because you want to leave the tools in the tool belt. Maybe start with a 200 calorie deficit or 300 to 400 calorie deficit, something that you can easily sustain long enough to see results, and then you bump it up a little bit more fire, right? A little bit more heat, right? A little more hunger, a little more fatigue, right? As you go into a deeper deficit, expect to be hungry, expect to be a little more tired, expect to be a little more cranky as well. So just understand that you don't want to jump into the super aggressive levels of a calorie deficit and put yourself in a restrictive diet that you cannot sustain long enough to even see results. So if you want to make a lifestyle change, if you want to take a sustainable approach that you can see week after week, you're seeing progress, you can put yourself in 4 to 6 days of a calorie deficit and then 1 to 3 days bringing your calories up to maintenance or a slight surplus. And that could look like an extra 200 to 400 calories, right? And for some people, it can even be an extra 800 calories, depending on your caloric budget and where you are. So then I want to tell you about some fat loss mistakes. Real quick, I want to give you guys a chance to ask any questions because I know I've been just going straight through. What questions do you guys have that I maybe have not answered or have not touched on, or something that I spoke of earlier that you want me to just pump the brakes on? Go ahead and ask any questions that you guys have, and then I'll go over some of the biggest fat loss mistakes that I see happening. Let's see. Okay. If you have any other questions, maybe you can't think of anything right now, you can definitely shoot us a DM and we can answer any questions. Let me move on to these fat loss mistakes. Okay, so the biggest fat loss mistakes that I see. And I want you guys to understand that right now I am calling out the behavior and not the human, not the human being, not the person. So I want you guys to basically see that this is me and you versus the problem. And this is not me and this is not you and your problem versus me, right? I'm not coming from a position where I'm like looking at you and your problems and I'm like, hey, you need to fix these problems. This is me and you versus the true problem, the real problem, right? Um, Calculate BMR. Okay, so real quick, someone said, how do I calculate BMR? You have two options. You can go to the MyFitnessPal. You can put in your age, height, and weight. This is just the fastest way to do it. Or you can go to the search bar in your phone. You can type in the letter TDEE. This is your total daily energy expenditure. So it's TDEE. Type that into your Google search bar, right? So if you type in TDEE, Tango, Delta, Echo, Echo, type that into your Google search bar real quick. I want everybody to at least walk away knowing what their BMR is and how many calories they should be at. So go to total daily energy expenditure calculator.net, or any of these TDEEs. Okay. So then you're going to see a screen like this that asks you for your age, height, weight, and activity level. So you're going to put that information in. So you put in your age, you put in your weight, you put in your height. Fellas, don't lie about your height. We need this information for scientific purposes. All right, so once you put that information in, it's going to give you a recommendation of your total daily energy expenditures, right? So here's what that will look like. So for me, my maintenance calories are at 3,000 calories a day. I've got a pretty good budget, and this is just based on my stated weight, my stated age, height, weight, and my activity level as well. So you do want to get your calorie budget and know what, and this is also going to tell you what your BMR is. So my BMR is the number of calories that it takes for my body to sustain energy. And then from there, if you scroll down, it'll even make some recommendations on how you would split up your macronutrients so that you can put yourself in an effective muscle building plan or an effective fat loss plan or even a maintenance plan. All right. The biggest fat loss mistakes, right? The number one biggest fat loss mistake is trying to cardio your way into your dream body or out exercise how much you eat. So this is something that many people have done before. We see it all the time. And I want to call out this behavior so that after today, we can stop thinking that we can just do more cardio to offset not controlling how much we eat. Guys, I can make a cheeseburger disappear in 5 minutes. I can make a box of pizza disappear. Give me 20 minutes, right? Or less. I can make a box of pizza disappear. We're talking about 3,000 calories. I can eat my total daily calorie budget in about 20 minutes. Okay. Think of how long it would take me to burn 3,000 calories. We're talking about hours and hours and hours of cardio, high intensity cardio, like enough hours that my body wouldn't even be able to sustain or produce at one moment or one time. I may not even be at that athleticism or conditioning level of a high endurance athlete like a marathon runner. So yeah, maybe when you were in college and you played ball, yeah, you could burn 3,000 calories a day. It was easy for you. But today in our 30s, 40s, and 50s, life's a little different and our body responds differently. So the biggest fat loss mistake is trying to cardio yourself to a dream body and trying to out exercise how much you actually eat. So it's so much more important that you find the amount of calories that makes the most sense for you based on your total daily energy expenditure. You adhere to those calories. You don't focus on cardio alone, but you utilize cardio as a tool, right? Cardio is going to help with your heart health and your lung health. It's going to help with your ability to shuttle nutrients through the bloodstream. It's going to help with your vasodilation. If some of you have high blood pressure, it's going to help to dilate those blood vessels, get more blood oxygen flow through, right? But cardio alone is not going to stimulate the muscles in your body that you were born with that are holding thousands of calories of glucose that you absolutely need to utilize so that you can flush that out and then get the blood sugar to come down out of your bloodstream, shuttle from your insulin back to the muscle tissue that was just now used. So think of strength training as the sponge that soaks up all of the energy that's broken down from the food we eat and distribute it into the right places so that you can enjoy diet, you can enjoy food. The person who strength trains can eat 2,000 to 3,000 calories without getting off their diet compared to the person who strength trains once a week, twice a week, skips it for a week, is inconsistent. This is someone who's going to find themselves constantly in a 1,000 calorie budget or a 1,200 calorie budget for the rest of their life because there isn't enough strength training to build up that metabolic balance, right? Guys, being stuck on a 900 calorie diet is not a good way to live. It's not a fun way to live. And it's probably the biggest contributor to a lot of eating disorders that people have. A lot of times people will tell me, oh, I don't want to track my food because I think it's going to make me crazy. You're going to be crazy thinking that you're going to hit your goals without measuring, right? So what gets measured gets improved, right? And what gets measured and reported improves significantly. So a big fat loss mistake that I see is people trying to do too much or too fast of anything. For example, you're trying to lose more than 1% of your body weight a week. You went from not exercising at all, and now January 1st, you're hitting the gym 7 days a week, right? This is trying to do too much too fast and not giving yourself a gradual build up and progression in your strength training, your exercise activity, right? Your dietary protocols. So I say take a realistic, sustainable approach. And when it comes to weight loss, if you find yourself trying to lose more than 1% of your body weight a week, you just need to pump the brakes. Moving forward to the next biggest fat loss mistake I see is a lot of folks get themselves into what I call a punishment and reward pattern. This is overeating and then doing excessive restriction. So one day you accidentally overate, right? You went to Outback, right, with your family. You had the blooming onion, the baked potato, the Brussels sprouts, the ribeye. You had it all, right? And then the next day you punish yourself and you restrict yourself from eating at all excessively, right? Have you ever heard of anyone, oh, I accidentally ate too much. Tomorrow I'm not going to eat anything at all. This is what can put someone in a punishment and reward pattern where they think that they have to earn the right to eat a healthy amount of food. And if they overate the day before, then they have to starve themselves the next day. If you miss the workout, now you've got to starve yourself. The same is true for that individual when they finally stick to their diet, when they finally stick to their training routine, and now they're starting to feel that natural hunger that tells you you're in a calorie deficit. Well, because they're in this punishment reward cycle, guess what they're getting ready to do? They're getting ready to reward themselves too early, right? You stuck to your diet for 5 days straight, Monday through Friday. You were perfect this week. Saturday, Sunday come around, and now you're ready to reward yourself, and you might accidentally over reward yourself and put yourself back into a caloric surplus and completely wash out all of that hard work you did because you felt like because of how consistent you were Monday through Friday, you could just go off of the handle on Saturday. So it works both ways, guys. One of the biggest mistakes, this is something I call a punishment reward cycle. And this is just not adhering to a healthy, sustainable diet that you can do 7 days a week so that you don't feel the need to break out of this diet and run free and rebel from it. It shouldn't feel like a diet, it should feel like a lifestyle change. The next biggest mistake I see is people thinking that the scale is the holy grail. This one is probably should be higher on the list. When we think that the scale is the holy grail, this is when there's no other wins to focus on. What do I mean by that? If your only way to objectify how successful you are in your fitness journey is what the number on the scale says, you're completely missing out on the amount of inches you may have lost around your stomach. You're completely missing out on the energy level that you have now compared to when you started, your heart health and your lung health, your stamina, your conditioning, your strength. Guys, these are all metrics that you should absolutely focus on. You should focus on, am I able to take these 20-pound dumbbells, press them over my head for more repetitions than I did a couple weeks ago? Or am I able to do the same amount of repetitions but use more weight now? This is a form of muscular strength and muscular development, right? This is someone who's increasing their strength and their stamina at the same time. So we want to track muscular endurance. We want to track muscular strength so that in the event that the scale might just be a little stagnant this week or this month or this season, you might be able to find that you're actually building muscular strength and muscular endurance if you're tracking those workouts. If you can objectively look at your workout plan and see, oh, you know what? I'm actually lifting heavier than I was lifting a month ago. I'm actually doing more repetitions than I did a month ago. You're allowing yourself to focus on more wins than just the scale. If you put a tape circumference around your waist, this is something huge that a lot of people miss. If you're measuring your waist on a weekly basis, when you're in this 30-pound weight loss goal, 50-pound weight loss goal, or even 10-pound weight loss goal, would you rather lose 2 to 3 inches around your waist, right, in the first couple months? Or would you rather see the weight loss but not lose any inches around your waist, right? Let me explain to you in a different scenario. If you are losing weight, but the circumference around your stomach is staying the same, you're not losing enough body fat. You're actually losing more muscle than you are losing fat. So if I lose 10, 20 pounds and the circumference around my stomach is still the same, where did those 10, 20 pounds come from? I most likely lost muscle tissue. And we don't want to lose muscle tissue because it protects our bones, it protects our metabolism, our energy, our vitality, right? All cause mortality. So, when you are in this weight loss journey, you absolutely want to take a piece of soft tape, measure it around your stomach every week. Because let's say this month you get stuck, you don't lose any weight. You're like, man, I haven't lost weight all month. Right, I'm ready to quit. I'm ready to give it up. I'm ready to go eat ice cream. But you were checking your waist circumference and you lost 3 inches around your waist. Guys, if you didn't lose any weight this month, but you lost 1 or 2 inches around your waist, there's a really good chance that you were building muscle in the process of losing fat at the same time. And this is called a sweet spot. This is actually where you want to be. I'd much rather be in a position where I didn't lose the amount of weight that I wanted to lose this month, but I did lose an inch or two around my waist rather than, wow, I lost 5 or 10 pounds this month, but the circumference around my stomach stays the same, right? Which scenario would you rather be in? So that's why we don't want the scale to be the holy grail. We want you to measure the circumference around your waist. We want you to take photos, right? See how you're fitting in clothes, right? This tells the story that the number on the scale could never tell if you're looking at yourself in photos, if you're checking the circumference around your waist, and then also if you're tracking the amount of weight you're lifting, the amount of repetitions you can produce, your aerobic capacity. Maybe you could only handle 20 minutes on the Stairmaster. Now you're doing 30 minutes, or maybe you could only walk a certain distance. Now you're able to walk further. So these are the different metrics of success where you can count your wins and it doesn't have to rely on the scale being the holy grail. The next biggest mistake I see is folks just giving up too soon. So I'll call it like it is. You've been out of shape and overweight for at least a decade, and now you want to change all of that in 30 days, right? So you worked really, really hard. You went to the gym 7 days a week. You took all the supplements, you ate all the healthy foods, and in 30 days, you're mad that you didn't go from a frog to a princess. Okay, guys, we're trying to fix a 10-year problem with a 30-day solution. It's likely that this 10-year issue probably needs a couple of years of worth of a solution, right? And realistically, make a 10-year problem be fixed by a 10-year solution. And by that, I'm saying don't commit to these fast track, unsustainable quick fixes. Commit to something that you can see yourself doing for the next 10 years, right? If you can see yourself going to the gym at least 3 days a week for the next 10 years, commit to it. If you don't see yourself going to the gym 7 days a week for the next 10 years, I probably would not commit to that right now, right? If you can't see yourself going the rest of your life without eating your favorite piece of candy or your favorite dessert or your favorite savory item, don't commit to a diet that's going to tell you to eat no pizza, right? Now that you know how many calories you need, you know what your caloric budget is, you can have pizza now. You just can't have the whole box. You just can't have three, four, five slices, right? Now you know exactly how much pizza you can have. And now this is no longer a restriction, giving up foods you enjoy. So if you ever hear people say, I'm able to lose weight and eat the foods I enjoy. This is someone who understood portion control and got really good at calculating the amount of calories that it takes for them to lose weight, sustain, or gain weight. The last biggest mistake I see is just chasing fat loss forever. Guys, fat loss phases should be temporary. That's why I gave you that 12-week template so that you could put yourself in a 12-week fat loss phase, then slightly bring your calories up to maintenance. And hopefully by that time, within that 3 months, you've built some muscle from strength training. So when you bring your calories up, you don't feel like you're stuck in this diet phase of eating less and less food. So you shouldn't be chasing fat loss forever. This should be a phase of fat loss. Get yourself up to maintenance. You still got a little bit of weight to lose. Go through another phase of fat loss. Get yourself up to maintenance, right? The goal is to spend most of our time in maintenance. You shouldn't be chasing the same 30, 40, 50 pounds weight loss goal year after year, right? Not if you're following these objective practices that I've shared with you today. But guys, it has been an hour. I'm definitely going over the time that I've promised. I have so much more that I'd love to share with you guys when it comes to the realm of nutrition and it comes to how to stay on track with traveling, how to actually commit to those 10,000 steps a day. I want to go over how to measure progressive overload. All of these on the very next time we get together. I'd like to go over what those 3 to 5 days of strength training actually looks like, how many days to do in the first month versus the next month, how to plan your workouts. I also want to go over meal planning made simple for you guys. So these are just some more things that we want to go over. So please absolutely share your feedback with our staff, with your trainers, with our lovely Circle of Sun Fitness staff, whether you do it virtually through Facebook, online, or you're utilizing your app. Share your feedback on what stood out most to you during this call. And we will most likely offer another one in some form or way. But we want to share all of this with you. And also, we want to let you guys know that we have some really big things coming up in the near future where we're going to be able to offer this nutrition coaching as a service on a one-on-one level so that you can get a more customized consulting process with your nutrition, understand what your personal calories look like, your personal meal plan, your personal strength training, and how it all ties together. So if you're interested in having something on a more one-on-one scale, please don't hesitate to reach out to the staff, the trainers, and Claude himself, and find out how you can get connected and take that next step in your fitness. Nonetheless, join our group in Facebook, join our group in the app, and we'll continue to share more value and more content over the next couple of weeks and months. So love you guys. And thank you so much for joining me on this call and learning how to live better and live longer and feel better at the end of the day. So you guys